Well, I'm back, and it's raining out here on and off. This is Florida, so excuse the background noise, please. I would have waited for a better time, but I think this needs to be done right now. So, we're going to talk about the conversations that are taking place and the terms being used in those conversations. There are a lot of people who are throwing around words like assault weapon and assault rifle and high-powered rifle and high-capacity magazine. And most of them have really no understanding of what they're talking about. In fact, even a lot of the people who are professionals, at least to some degree, or at least hobbyists, don't really know the differences. So I think it's time to clarify some of that for you. So let's start with the word or phrase assault weapon, okay? What is an assault weapon? I don't know. I have no idea. That's something they made up. You see, what happens is politicians get an idea, and they decide that what they're gonna do is use words that sound scary together and call something that, and then decide how to define that and make laws regulating that. So they decided that assault weapons sounds scary and that they can use that to forward their agenda. To relieve us of our right to complain about what they're doing. Because when we can no longer defend our complaints, then we no longer have a complaint, do we? So assault weapon is not a thing. So when you use that term, I can't take you seriously. I think I'm hoping that you've just misspoken, because it's easy to do. But it's hard to believe that you really think there's such thing as an assault weapon. Because basically any weapon you assault with is an assault weapon. Now, assault rifle is actually a real term. To understand that, we're going to have to go back to World War II. Back in World War II, we were just coming from the time of trench warfare, where people would line up in trenches 100 yards apart from each other and shoot their high-powered rifles into each other's trenches and try and kill each other, and some of them would use heavy machine guns to stop the oncoming advances. As time moved on, they realized that those heavy machine guns were just too bulky, too hard to carry, so they weren't practical for mobile combat. And at the same time, the big rifles that everybody had been using, the giant bolt-action rifles, like your Springfields and all that, they were a little big, a little bulky, and a little hard to control, especially to assault a position, right? Or to storm a position. So Hitler's people came up with this idea of creating a rifle specifically designed for storming positions, right? So they called it the Storm Rifle, or Sturmgewehr. I don't speak German, but I think it's pronounced similarly to that. So the Sturmgewehr was designed to be small, man-portable, easy to carry. You can carry the ammunition and magazines, and everything was light enough that they could actually run across the field and storm a position. Now, if they weren't really built for lethality, I understand that they are lethal, but they weren't built for the purpose of lethality. The idea was to be able to carry a fully automatic capable small arm that you could fire into a position as you're rapidly approaching it to keep their heads down, so that once you get there, you can actually apply more lethal methods, grenades, bombs, higher powered rifles, those kinds of things, to actually take the position. So the purpose of the storm rifle was to be able to storm with just a hail of grazing fire, bullets just flying across the grass, in order to keep people's heads down long enough to get close enough to hit them with something that will really kill them. So they decided the only reasonable way to be able to carry enough ammo to do that, but give that ammo enough power to get it over the long distance so that they can start the firing from 100 yards plus, was to create an intermediate cartridge. Prior to that, there were two options. There was the pistol cartridge, and there was the rifle cartridge, right? So you had the big old rifle cartridge and the pistol cartridge, and those were your two options. What they came up with is the intermediate cartridge. Now this isn't exactly the same bullet that they use. In fact, this is the 223 or the 5.56. This is what your AR-15 actually shoots. Now, compared to a standard rifle cartridge, you can see the difference. The rifle cartridge, this bad boy, is significantly larger and more powerful. High-powered rifle. When you hear these people say, oh, AR-15s are high-powered rifles, this is not true. AR-15s are standard, or excuse me, are intermediate powered. They have less weight to them, less power behind them. And here's your projectile. You can see the tiny one here. That's your AR-15 round next to your 308, okay? So the AR-15 shoots something that is 3 times smaller than the 308, and it shoots it at roughly the same velocity. So no, it's not a high-powered rifle, it's an intermediate. So we had to get that clarified while we were talking about this. Now going back to the whole Storm rifle, the US incorporated a Storm rifle, but we used words that we were, more familiar with, that made more sense to our tactics. So we called it an assault rifle. We built them for assaulting positions, not assaulting personnel. There's a difference. They were built for assaulting positions. Again, keep people's heads down while you approached so that you could use more lethal means. So that brings us back to today. The military has assault rifles, which are fully automatic or selective fire rifles. Their purpose is to be able to shoot a lot of ammo fast with one squeeze of the trigger so that they can approach a position and then take it down. Now, what is available on the market today without significant licensing and all the other processes, the tax stamp and all that, are the semi-automatic clones of assault rifles. So your AR-15s are not assault rifles. This is not an assault rifle. It is cool looking, it's scary looking. It is not an assault rifle. It will never assault a position, ever. So there is a difference. Now, let's do an assault rifles ban. We did. Assault rifles have been banned for consumer purchase since 1986. Not one rifle built since 1986 is available for public purchase. So if you see somebody who's actually bought an assault rifle, they have bought an old one that has a lot of miles on it, more than likely, and have paid, well, I have seen them go for as low as $15,000, but even that's pretty impressive. A lot of these true assault rifles that can still be bought on the market, after you've licensed yourself and gone through the whole government approval, then you're paying $15,000, $20,000, $25,000 to own one of these things. Not to mention how fast they go through ammo, it's not even worth it. Which is another argument. You can always argue about it's hard to be accurate when you're spitting out ammo so fast that the recoil is hard to manage, but it's a whole different animal. The point is, there hasn't been a mass killing perpetrated with an assault rifle in decades. I think it's happened twice ever, and once was by law enforcement. So the idea that assault rifles are actually the problem is ignorant. That's all it is. It's not, you're not stupid. You just didn't know better. I understand that. There's a lot of things that a lot of us don't know. I don't know anything about feminine hygiene. I'm ignorant. You don't know anything about rifles. That's okay. I'm here. I got your back. So we go back to, the assault weapons and assault rifles. What they're defining as assault weapons are things that look like assault rifles, but don't act like assault rifles. They don't do what they want. So it's like saying, well, there's a lot of people dying in car races, so we're going to ban anything that looks like a race car, that looks like it could go fast, or something like that. But Jimmy, everybody's using these things for all these mass murders. Okay, yes and no. That's not necessarily true. I mean, the one in Virginia Beach had nothing to do with any AR-15s and or AKs or any of that. It was handguns, and it's probably why it was a little more effective. Um, and to be real, if okay, let's put it this way: most car accidents happen involving a Toyota or a Honda, right? I mean, that's factual. That is not because Toyotas and Hondas cause accidents. It's because more people drive Toyotas and Hondas than Fords and Chevys. Because there are more of them out there, because they are the popular thing to have, they are in more accidents. Now, the AR-15 is the Barbie doll of rifles right now. Everybody's gotta have the AR with all the bolt-on, stick-on, slap-on nonsense added to it because it is a customizable gun. You can make it yours. As you notice, this one that I have here is camouflaged and has optics on it and all that. None of that does anything to make it more effective. It just looks cooler. So, you know, the fact that these things are being used isn't a reflection of their power or their effectiveness. It's a reflection of their popularity. If you get rid of them, people might go to shotguns. Now, I'm going to tell you, if I have somebody coming down a hallway shooting at me, I want somebody who shoots at a lower volume than an AR-15. Because an AR-15 shoots one bullet every time you shoot, right? So you got one of these tiny little guys right here with every squeeze of the trigger. A 12 gauge shotgun shoots, ooh, these things are hard to hold, 9 of these, which are, each one of them is as big and heavy as your AR bullet. So we have all of those versus that one little bullet with each squeeze of the trigger. I don't know about you, but I'd rather take my chances with somebody who's shooting one of these little guys than with somebody who's shooting 9 of those with each squeeze of the trigger. I think I'm gonna probably survive. In fact, the numbers reflect it. The reality is, the reason that you get 15 or 20 dead and 25 or 30 wounded is because the AR-15 is so popular. If they were using the 308 or the 12 gauge or pistols, we'd be seeing a higher kill ratio, sadly. And I don't want to give anybody any ideas here. This is not the purpose. The purpose is just so that you understand what you're doing. You're trying to ban something that is not as effective as almost anything else that could have been used because it's scary looking to you. I'm not sure that's really bright. I mean, if I go, you know, your concern is that these magazines hold 30 rounds of 55 grain bullets. Yeah, they do. This holds 20 rounds of 126 grain bullets. So if I'm looking at 2.5 times the weight of round coming at you, the fact that it only holds 50% more is not a big deal to me. I mean, I'm more concerned with the big fat bullets coming at me out of the handgun, and even more to the point, I think even more important, and this isn't, I'm not condoning banning anything. You don't have the authority to tell me what I can have. But if you did, and if you were going to, you have to get that it's a lot easier to conceal a handgun than it is an AR-15. Somebody walking into Walmart, granted, this guy walked in without being seen carrying that AK, but you've seen the pictures. If anybody didn't see him, it's because they looked away. I can't even imagine how nobody noticed that. And in a place like where I live, where, I don't know, 1 in 5 people are armed at any given time, he wouldn't have made it in the door. It's not how it works. So, I'm thinking banning something because it's scary looking is worse than leaving it alone and just trying to combat him from a defensive perspective. I hope this has helped. I hope this has given you some idea of the difference. I do want to mention that, you know, there was an assault weapons ban from 1994 to 2004. And in that time, the FBI realized that it didn't make a difference, that it had no effect on anything. And that was during the time of the Columbine shooting. And even with that, there was just not enough of a change to make it worth limiting people's freedom. So anyway, if you like my videos, hit the subscribe button. If not, hit it anyway. Just be friendly. Thanks a lot for watching. You guys take care.